What happens when the purest form of empathy clashes with the most hardened self-obsession? Friends, colleagues, fellow seekers of understanding, we gather today to explore a fascinating, albeit complex, dynamic. The intricate and often unintentional way a super empath can, in essence, torture a narcissist. Now, let me be clear, this isn't about malicious intent. It's about the fundamental clash between two opposing forces, two distinct ways of navigating the human experience. The narcissist, as we understand, thrives on external validation, a constant stream of admiration that fuels their fragile ego. They construct elaborate facades, projecting an image of perfection and superiority to garner this crucial narcissistic supply. Their interactions are often transactional, relationships viewed as tools to maintain their elevated self-perception. Enter the super empath. This individual possesses an extraordinary capacity for feeling, an almost visceral understanding of the emotions swirling around them. They see beyond the surface, intuitively grasping the unspoken anxieties and hidden vulnerabilities of others. Their genuine desire is to connect authentically, to offer compassion and understanding without expectation of reciprocation. And here, my friends, is where the unintentional torture begins. Firstly, the super empath, with their innate ability to discern genuine emotion from artifice, can inadvertently disrupt the narcissist's carefully constructed reality. The empath's lack of interest in superficial praise, their focus on true connection, can feel like a profound rejection to the narcissist. The validation they desperately seek doesn't land, the applause they crave falls silent. This starvation of narcissistic supply can be deeply unsettling, chipping away at their carefully maintained sense of control. Secondly, the super empath's heightened sensitivity can act as a mirror, reflecting back the narcissist's own deeply buried shame and insecurities. The narcissist spends considerable energy suppressing these uncomfortable truths, projecting an image of unwavering confidence. But the empath, attuned to subtle emotional undercurrents, can unknowingly tap into these hidden wounds. The narcissist, confronted with a reflection of their own perceived inadequacies, experiences profound discomfort, a psychic itch they cannot scratch. Finally, the super empath's inherent compassion and capacity for forgiveness can create significant cognitive dissonance for the narcissist. The narcissist operates within a framework of manipulation, control, and often, a lack of genuine remorse. The empath's unwavering empathy, their willingness to understand and even forgive perceived slights, can be utterly baffling. It doesn't fit into the narcissist's understanding of how relationships function. This unexpected kindness can be destabilizing, forcing a confrontation with their own manipulative behaviors in a way that direct confrontation rarely achieves. Friends, visionaries, individuals striving for deeper understanding in your lives, let's delve into a concept that can illuminate many of the perplexing dynamics you might encounter in your relationships: the unintentional disruption of narcissistic supply by a super empath. Imagine two distinct ecosystems existing side by side. One thrives on external validation, constantly seeking nourishment from the admiration and attention of others. This is the realm of the narcissist. The other ecosystem flourishes through genuine connection, drawing sustenance from authentic emotional exchange and offering unwavering empathy. This is the domain of the super empath. When these two worlds collide, an intriguing, often unconscious, power dynamic unfolds. The narcissist, at their core, operates from a place of deep-seated insecurity, a fragile sense of self that requires constant external bolstering. Think of it as a leaky vessel that perpetually needs to be filled with praise, admiration, and a sense of superiority. Their interactions are often strategically designed to elicit this narcissistic supply. They might boast about achievements, exaggerate their importance, or even subtly demean others to elevate their own standing. Their focus is often on the surface, appearances, status, and the reflection they see in the eyes of others. They are masters of crafting an image, a carefully curated persona designed to attract and retain their sources of validation. Now, picture the super empath entering this dynamic. These are individuals blessed, and sometimes burdened, with an extraordinary capacity to feel and understand the emotions of those around them. They possess an almost intuitive ability to see beyond the masks people wear, to sense the underlying currents of joy, sorrow, and even deception. Their primary drive in interactions is genuine connection, a desire to understand and empathize with the authentic self of the other person. They value honesty, vulnerability, and the creation of a space where true emotions can be shared and acknowledged. This fundamental difference in orientation is where the unintentional disruption begins. The narcissist extends their carefully crafted bait, a story of success, a display of charm, a subtle attempt to elicit admiration. They are expecting the familiar rush of validation, the mirroring of their inflated self-image. But the super empath, with their keen emotional radar, often perceives the underlying insecurity or the manipulative intent behind the performance. Their response, therefore, is not the enthusiastic admiration the narcissist seeks. Instead, it might be a gentle inquiry about the genuine feelings behind the bravado, a quiet acknowledgement of a potential vulnerability, or simply a lack of effusive praise because their focus is on a deeper level of connection. This absence of the expected validation can be profoundly unsettling for the narcissist. It's akin to a plant being denied water. Their primary source of nourishment is withheld. They might escalate their efforts, becoming more grandiose, more demanding of attention, or even resorting to manipulative tactics to elicit the desired response. However, the super empath, grounded in their own sense of authenticity, is unlikely to engage in superficial flattery or be easily swayed by emotional manipulation. Their focus remains on genuine connection, and they intuitively resist reinforcing an inflated ego built on shaky foundations. The narcissist may interpret this lack of enthusiastic validation as rejection or even a personal attack. Their fragile ego struggles to process a response that doesn't affirm their carefully constructed self-image. They might feel unseen, misunderstood, or even threatened by the empath's inability or unwillingness to play the expected role of admirer. This can trigger feelings of frustration, anger, and a desperate need to reassert control and regain their source of supply elsewhere. The torture, therefore, is not a deliberate act of cruelty but an inherent consequence of the empath's authentic nature. Their inability to provide the specific type of external validation the narcissist craves creates a void, a sense of being unfulfilled and unappreciated in the very way they seek to be. The empath's genuine focus on deeper connection inadvertently shines a light on the superficiality of the narcissistic facade, and the absence of reflexive admiration starves the very engine that drives their behavior. This unintentional disruption can lead to significant distress for the narcissist, forcing them to confront, albeit unconsciously, the emptiness that lies beneath their carefully constructed image of self-importance. It highlights the powerful, often silent, impact of authenticity in a world where some seek sustenance not from genuine connection, but from the fleeting echoes of external praise. Imagine holding up a mirror to someone who has spent their entire life meticulously crafting a flawless image, only to have that mirror reflect not the polished surface they present, but the raw, unacknowledged vulnerabilities they desperately try to conceal. This, in essence, is the profound and often unintentional way a super empath can torture a narcissist by mirroring and amplifying their hidden shame. For a motivational audience seeking to understand the intricate dance of human interaction, grasping this dynamic can unlock profound insights into challenging relationships. The narcissist, beneath their often grandiose exterior, carries a deep well of insecurity and shame. This isn't always apparent. In fact, they often go to great lengths to project an image of unwavering confidence and superiority as a defense mechanism against these very feelings. Think of it as a heavily fortified castle built to protect a fragile inner core. Every boast, every act of dominance, every demand for admiration is, in part, an attempt to keep these buried feelings at bay. They seek constant external validation to soothe the persistent whisper of inadequacy within. Now, consider the super empath. These individuals possess an extraordinary sensitivity to the emotional landscape of others. They can sense the subtle shifts in mood, the unspoken anxieties, the underlying currents of pain that others might try to hide. Their empathy acts like a finely tuned instrument, resonating with the authentic, often vulnerable, emotions present, even when those emotions are carefully masked. They have an uncanny ability to see beyond the presented facade and connect with a genuine human being beneath. This inherent ability to perceive hidden emotions is the key to understanding how a super empath can unintentionally amplify a narcissist's buried shame. In their interactions, the empath, driven by a desire for genuine connection, might respond not to the projected image of perfection, but to the subtle cues of insecurity they perceive beneath. They might offer a gentle word of understanding that acknowledges a potential vulnerability the narcissist is trying to deny, or they might simply fail to react with the expected awe and admiration, sensing the underlying neediness rather than the presented strength. This subtle mirroring can be deeply unsettling for the narcissist. It's as if the empath's presence acts as an unbidden mirror, reflecting back the very feelings they are desperately trying to avoid. The empath isn't intentionally trying to shame them. Rather, their genuine empathy bypasses the carefully constructed defenses and resonates with the authentic, often wounded, self beneath. The narcissist, confronted with this unintentional reflection of their hidden vulnerabilities, experiences a profound discomfort. Their carefully managed image is not being reflected back to them, and the shame they work so hard to suppress begins to surface. This mirroring can manifest in various ways. If the narcissist boasts excessively, the empath might respond with a quiet acknowledgement of the underlying insecurity driving the need for such external validation. If the narcissist attempts to dominate a conversation, the empath's calm and centered presence might highlight the narcissist's need for control. If the narcissist seeks constant praise, the empath's focus on genuine connection and reciprocal exchange might implicitly reveal the one-sided nature of the interaction and the underlying need for constant reassurance. The narcissist may react to this unintentional mirroring with anger, defensiveness, or attempts to reassert dominance. They might lash out at the empath, accusing them of being critical or unsupportive, in a desperate attempt to shatter the unwelcome mirror. However, the empath's grounded presence and genuine empathy can make it difficult for the narcissist to effectively project their own shame onto them. The empath's calm and understanding response can further amplify the narcissist's internal discomfort, as their usual defense mechanisms prove ineffective. The torture, therefore, lies in this inescapable reflection of the unacknowledged self. The super empath, simply by being their authentic, empathetic self, inadvertently holds up a mirror that the narcissist cannot bear to look into. It forces them to confront, however unconsciously, the very feelings of inadequacy and shame they spend so much energy trying to avoid. This unintentional amplification of their deepest fears can be a profoundly painful experience for the narcissist, a constant, subtle undermining of their carefully constructed defenses, all stemming from the empath's innate ability to see and connect with the authentic human being beneath the mask. Imagine navigating a world built on a specific set of rules, a framework where interactions are transactional, power dynamics are paramount, and empathy is often viewed as a weakness to be exploited. This is the cognitive landscape often inhabited by the narcissist. Now, introduce into this landscape the radical concept of unconditional compassion, the genuine desire to understand and forgive without expectation of personal gain. This is the inherent nature of the super empath, and the collision of these two contrasting worldviews can create a profound and unsettling experience for the narcissist, a form of unintentional torture rooted in cognitive dissonance. For a motivational audience seeking to break free from limiting beliefs and understand the power of empathy, exploring this dynamic can be truly transformative. The narcissist's worldview is often characterized by a need for control and a belief in a hierarchical structure where they occupy a position of superiority. Their interactions are frequently driven by a desire to manipulate and exploit others to maintain their sense of self-importance. Concepts like genuine empathy and unconditional positive regard can seem illogical, even threatening, within this framework. Why would someone offer understanding without wanting something in return? Why would someone forgive without demanding retribution or leverage? These selfless acts challenge the very foundation of their understanding of human relationships. Enter the super empath, whose very being radiates compassion and a deep-seated belief in the inherent worth of every individual. Their natural inclination is to understand the motivations behind actions, even those that might be hurtful. They possess a remarkable capacity for forgiveness, often seeing beyond the offense to the underlying pain or insecurity driving the behavior. Their empathy is not a tool for manipulation but a genuine expression of their interconnectedness with others. They offer understanding freely, without expecting anything in return, driven by an intrinsic desire to heal and connect. This fundamental difference in relational approach creates a significant cognitive dissonance for the narcissist. Their internal rulebook, which dictates that all interactions are transactional and driven by self-interest, is directly contradicted by the empath's behavior. The empath's compassion doesn't fit into their established categories. They might struggle to understand the empath's motives, perhaps suspecting a hidden agenda or perceiving their kindness as a sign of weakness to be exploited. The genuine nature of the empath's empathy can be so foreign to their own experience that they may struggle to process it as authentic. This incongruence between the narcissist's expectations and the empath's reality can be deeply unsettling. It creates a mental conflict, a jarring dissonance between their ingrained beliefs about how the world works and the direct experience of interacting with someone who operates on an entirely different set of principles. Their attempts to categorize the empath's behavior within their existing framework often fail, leading to confusion and frustration. They might try to provoke a negative reaction, hoping to elicit a more familiar, transactional response. They might test the empath's boundaries, expecting them to eventually reveal a hidden motive or become resentful. However, the super empath's unwavering compassion and commitment to understanding can be incredibly disorienting for the narcissist. Their forgiveness, even in the face of hurtful behavior, defies the narcissist's expectation of retribution or the opportunity to exert control through guilt. Their consistent positive regard can undermine the narcissist's attempts to devalue or manipulate them. The empath's refusal to engage in power struggles or retaliate in kind can leave the narcissist feeling bewildered and without their usual tools of engagement. This isn't to say that the empath intentionally sets out to confuse or upset the narcissist. Their behavior is simply a natural outflow of their empathetic nature. However, the impact on the narcissist can be profound. The cognitive dissonance created by this unexpected and seemingly illogical compassion can challenge their fundamental assumptions about human interaction and their place within it. It can force them, on a subconscious level, to confront the limitations and potential toxicity of their own worldview. The very act of being met with unwavering kindness and understanding, in the face of their often manipulative or self-serving behavior, can be a deeply destabilizing experience, a quiet but powerful challenge to their carefully constructed reality. The torture, therefore, lies not in inflicting pain, but in creating a fundamental conflict within the narcissist's understanding of the world, a dissonance born from the unexpected and potentially transformative power of unconditional compassion. In essence, the dynamic between a super empath and a narcissist reveals a profound truth about human connection. The torture inflicted isn't one of malice, but rather an unintentional consequence of their fundamentally different ways of being. The empath's authenticity disrupts the narcissist's need for validation, their sensitivity mirrors hidden shame, and their compassion creates a cognitive dissonance that challenges the narcissist's worldview. It underscores the powerful impact of genuine empathy and authentic connection in a world where some navigate relationships through manipulation and control. Thank you. Your willingness to explore such complex dynamics is deeply appreciated. May this understanding empower you in your own relationships and inspire you to cultivate deeper, more authentic connections.